What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the God Squad again on this chilly Thursday evening. Well, at least it's chilly where I am. I don't know what's going on where y'all are. If you're not in hell, then the weather's probably halfway decent. Although some of us have probably been feeling like we've been in some type of hell since November the 6th, since that fateful day. But here we are, alive, well, healthy, and in the land of the living. So to God be the glory for that. What we got going on? Can we introduce some folks? Well, first we got our brother, the Right Reverend tattooed theologian, Dylan M. Cruz. What's up, Dylan?
I'm here. I made it. it's been a week in the Cruz household, but I'm here, so that's the good thing.
I'm so glad that you are here. And we have a very, very special guest. This is Mr. Herb Montgomery. We're going to call him Brother Montgomery. Brother Montgomery, who is director of Renewed Heart Ministries. He's an author and adult religious reeducator for over 2 decades. Brother Herb and his wife, Crystal, have shared Jesus' teachings with others in cities and communities all across the United States. His presentations are transparent, relevant, relationally responsible, and intellectually honest. And we love all of that over here at the God Squad. Right. And he has an unusual gift for making complex theological, social, economic, and political concepts accessible for people. And we are all about that over here at the God Squad. And he enjoys sharing with groups possessing wild and diverse belief spectrums, yet with a common focus on compassion and social justice. And let me just say again, we love that over here at the God Squad. So welcome, Brother Herb Montgomery, to the show as our guest host today. What's up, Brother Herb?
Thank you, December. It's a real pleasure to be here with the two of you.
Yes, thank you. So listen, it's been some moments, some things, some current events going on.
Really? So, something's happening?
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be quiet sometimes and sometimes it'd be loud. And right now, we're in a really loud era in this country and in life in general. But what TF? What's going on in the news this week, Brother Dylan Neighbor Crew? What is going on? What we talking about? What's happening? What's going on right now?
Well, one of the important things that happened this week, and this is something that I'm sure Herb will want to talk about too, is that we do the Christians behaving badly on here quite a bit, but America lost a really giant, a theological giant on the 19th, Tony Campolo, who was a social justice evangelical, and I probably had some things theologically that I didn't agree with him on, but his focus on the social gospel that I learned by reading Walter Rauschenbusch was really powerful, and it got a lot of young evangelicals to care about social justice issues. And I'm sure that Tony would have thought that he was going home. So Tony Campolo had his homecoming this past week. And he was a powerful voice in American theology, pushing back against the Christian right. And so we celebrate his life and mourn his loss and hope that grace and peace are with everybody who loved Tony. And I'm sure that was millions of people. He had an amazing ministry for 50 odd years. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, Herb, did you know much about Tony? I know that social justice, Jesus, social gospel.
I come to the social justice passion through a little bit more progressive channels than I think Campolo would have fit in. My street cred for evangelicalism is pretty thin. I'll just be honest from the very beginning. I never read anything by Tony. I never heard any sermons by Tony. I knew who he was and appreciated what he was doing, but there's no intersection between Tony's ministry and my life personally. That's not to say anything negative. That's just to say, I wish, it's a sad day that his voice is now lost, but my heart goes out to his family. And all who will be missing him, and those of you who had your lives deeply touched by him. Tony sounds like an incredible human.
Yeah.
I have to echo that from Brother Montgomery. I don't know this man personally, but it sounds like he was a giant in the faith, and not just in religion, just in the faith journey. And we had one of our viewers said, Lisa Stevens said that he helped her 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Please say that. And Bill Fenstermaker says that he got to hear Tony once in his youth, and pretty sure he was the first seed in making his dad slightly more woke. So that's if that's the legacy that he's leaving, then surely he left his fingerprint on the earth. Many hearts and souls, and my prayers and thoughts go out to his family. I'm certain that he will be missed. But if you believe like he believes, or any of us believe, this won't be the last time we'll come across that soul. So we thank God for the life that he had and the gift that he shared with all those who encountered him.
Yeah. He was part of the Red Letter Christian movement that Shane Claiborne's a part of. And I'm sure that I read something, years ago that Tony wrote or whatever. But again, theologically, we're probably somewhat apart on certain things, but it's that social gospel, the taking care of the poor, the enacting what Jesus's teachings were that I think is important, because those are all of the kinds of things that we practically have a job because Christians behaving badly, and all the nonsense that they get up to, that doesn't look anything like Jesus. So
I think we're all wrong theologically anyways, right? So it's just kind of, it's all about what kind of human you show up as, right?
Yeah. I mean,
he showed up as a quality human.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, orthopraxy is more important than orthodoxy all day, every day in my world, because we're doing the best we can. One of my favorite bands is a band called James, out of Manchester, England. They're not very well known in America, except for their song Laid, which was on the American Pie movie. But he has a song called God Only Knows. And he would introduce it sometimes saying, God only knows the nature of God. The rest of us are just guessing. And that's And we can make some educated guesses, but if it don't look like love, then I think we're probably guessing wrong. So
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. In other news, what about this Department of Education pick? What should I have to say about that?
Well,
I believe this is the WWE.
Yeah, Linda McMahon. And today I learned, not only does she not have any education experience.
Shocker.
Yeah, shocking. Running a wrestling empire is not exactly running the Department of Education.
Well, it depends on what kind of schools you visit.
Well, probably true. Yeah.
Sorry,
I worked
go
in
ahead.
some of those schools. But she and her husband were credibly accused of allowing sexual abuse of young boys by the ringside announcer in the 80s and 90s. And it got so bad that the New York Post even reported on it in 1992. And you got to be pretty fucked up if the New York Post is going to say something about you, because, they're practically a tabloid. And she, this is one of those chaos picks. Trump said he's going to, eliminate the Department of Education. Fortunately, he's probably not going to be able to do that because it's a pretty popular department, bipartisan, and you got to have a super majority in the Senate to get rid of it. But what he can do is create chaos, and that's probably what she's for. And a professor at Penn State University, Dr. Rosinger, said that it's going to impact the marginalized the most, because he can take away the Title IX protections for LGBTQ plus kids.
That's
and
right.
Take away the Title IX protections for people of for students of color and whatnot. So this is just another one of those instances where expertise, stage left, sycophantic, predatory people enter stage right, and it's just kind of mind blowing.
What is it that no matter what position it is, there's this thread of sexual violence / acquiescence to assault / I don't know. Why is it that it doesn't matter who the pick is? Like, this is a woman, and even with this woman, that thread just weaved. What is it with that? It's every pick, every position, and it's so weird. It's so weird to me, and it's it's unnerving what has become normalized now. If you recall, I was listening to the news the other day, and they were talking about how you already know what the Matt Gaetz withdrew today, and in less than a couple of hours from him withdrawing, Trump announced the next person. So, anyway,
did he? I didn't see that.
Yes, he announced who was the former Attorney General of Florida. I forget her name right now. Something Bondi. I can't remember her name right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So already he's got somebody, and you got to wonder if they didn't already have her lined up. But the thing is, this guy gets to who gets to. This is the privilege thing. You get to withdraw from a position that immediately stops somebody investigating whether or not you were doing sex trafficking. Where they do that at? And you know what? I really want to give a swift kick in the ass to Merrick Garland's behind, because that dude he should have been a judge, because he is very good at sitting and deliberating. He ain't good at shit else. He ain't good at shit else. He should have been somewhere sitting, thinking, deliberating. That's all he did for almost 4 years. He could have been brought the cases against Trump for the documents, for all the stuff that he did. He drug his ass on that. They decided not to go forward with the Matt Gaetz thing. I don't know why. Did anybody else see the grid that came out of all the payments that Matt Gaetz made to these women for sex between these two teenagers? Did anybody catch that this week? All the pay, and he made them through his adopted son's Venmo or something like that.
Right.
Who else wouldn't get? Yes. Yeah. Did you see that, Herb?
I did.
And
listen, if you're trying to hide something, don't use Venmo.
Right.
Don't even use a family member's Venmo.
That's just creepy.
These are not super smart people. They're dangerous, but they're not smart.
And so I'm like, that's a thread. That's a common thread through his picks, and that for a reason, because that patriarchal, that toxic patriarchy, and that misogyny, and that thirst for power, and that greed, of course, is going to have a thread of sexual assault running through it, because you always feel like you can take whatever is you're always going to feel like you're empowered and entitled to take whatever it is you want, no matter whether that person want to give it to you or not. That's just the nature of that realm. And that's why it's so prevalent with all his picks. Even though it's a woman, it's running through her past as well, which is just wild to me.
Yeah, her husband's is a piece of work too. Herb, did you have anything that's jumped off the page at you in this cycle of every other day or every other hour we're having kind of a, oh my God, are you kidding me moment in the news?
You know, I don't think I can be shocked by Trump's picks any more than I already am. I'm kind of numb now. It's like the next one when we find out the new scandal on the next person. It's just it's par for the course now. What really concerned me is watching, and I don't know if we want to open this can of worms.
We open all the cans.
Let me just say why it concerned me first, because I didn't see this happen in the first Trump term, and I'm watching it happen now. And it concerns me because if the concern is this deep that there has to be this level of compromise, then truly the guardrails have come off, and we have legitimate concern for what's coming down the pike, and that is the softening. That's the best way to say it. That's the kindest way to say it. The softening of the Trump critiques and the partial Trump praise that I saw all morning this morning on MSNBC.
Oh, okay.
If Joe and Mika are going to Mar-a-Lago, listen, people, I got problems, but people get to make the choices they get to make and live with the consequences of the choices they make. But what alarms me more than anything is what are they seeing behind the scenes that caused them to cave?
Mm-hmm.
is that didn't happen. There were guardrails that protected them the first time. Those guardrails are gone. I heard rhetoric this morning that I have never heard. And again, I'm way more left than Joe and Mika. Joe drives me crazy most mornings with his moderate whatever, but that's a different topic.
He drives me crazy because he interrupts every damn body. He can't finish a damn sentence around that guy.
Yeah,
he get on my damn nerves.
I'm more so I'm already watching them out of the corner of my eye, but I saw stuff there this morning that I was like, what universe am I living in now? What just happened on Morning Joe? What just happened? Where did
We're gonna be talking about that later. You on to something?
Well, what's now there that's making even them scared?
Yeah. Dr. Timothy Snyder, who I've talked about before, he's a Yale historian of authoritarianism.
On Tyranny? Is that what he wrote? On Tyranny?
Yep. And he said On Tyranny, do not obey in advance. And guess what happened when CBS did that fucking debate? They obeyed in advance. No fact checking. That's why JD Vance was like, I thought you weren't going to fact check me. And then now with MSNBC, which no spoiler or preview of coming attractions, we might hear more about later from somebody on the panel here tonight. I have been taking a break from most news except for Democracy Now! And that's pretty damn horrifying what they're showing on there, because Israel has, well, the ICC has now put out the warrants for Netanyahu's arrest.
And who is the other one? It was Netanyahu and
his defense minister that he fired, I believe.
Right. His former defense minister.
Yeah. And now, of course, the Israeli government spin machine is, oh, how dare you? How dare you? We're just defending ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
My dude, also, the defending of yourself stopped a long
and aid
time
from
ago.
Coming into the country. I think they are 40-something days out from. They've been blocking aid, food.
Oh yeah, yeah, and the U.S. is violating U.S. law right now by continuing to send them weapons. It's called the Leahy Law, and we are violating the law right now as a government, and that to me is absolutely fucking infuriating. Because
and for those who don't know, that law states that we cannot arm or assist when they are denying humanitarian aid. Is that the law that we're talking about?
Yes. Yeah. If they're committing genocide or denying aid of some kind, then that's against the law. And our tax dollars continue to fund this because for some reason that particular nation state occupying land in Israel, Palestine we can't criticize, we can't do anything with it, because if we do, all hell will break loose in the Middle East or something. That's the theory behind it.
No, the theory is based in Christian nationalism.
That's an undercurrent. And when you nominate a person who says there's no such thing as a Palestinian to be the ambassador to Israel, that's genocidal language. That is erasure of a culture and a people. And that's Mike Huckabee with his gravy clogged arteries, who is going over there to be the U.S. ambassador to Israel. It's a shit show. And it's why I can only handle watching Democracy Now! About twice a week, because it's so heavy. It's just, so fucking heavy. And now the legacy media is just whatever. We're just going to do whatever Trump does, and that'll get us clicks and ratings, and our shareholders will be super happy.
The thing is too, now that there's reporting and videos and things out there. Now the Arab community, especially in Dearborn, Michigan, now saying that they feel like this is actually something someone posted, that they've been played, and especially now after the pick Ambassador, Mr. Governor Huckabee. And my whole thing about that is, as much as I want to feel sorry, I don't. And I know this is going to sound probably ungodly or unchristian like, but I don't give two shits about that. I'm sorry. Because how do you even fix your voting finger to get your brown ass in that booth and vote for a man who one of his first things he did when he was office the first time is try to put a Muslim ban in place? Just a blanket Muslim ban. It didn't matter what your beliefs were. It didn't matter what kind of person you were. It just, as long as if you came from a predominantly Muslim country or you was a Muslim, you couldn't come because there was just too many of y'all here, or whatever his reasoning was. You didn't listen to the words coming out this man's mouth all this time. You didn't listen to the words coming out of the mouths of the people that were around him. You didn't listen to what he said he was going to try to do. You didn't hear him, the way he buddy up with Netanyahu telling they just need to get it done. What the hell you thought get it done meant? Yeah. They don't give a damn about Gaza. They don't give a damn about Palestinians. You didn't listen to them talking about the people that are protesting on behalf of the Palestinians are actually supporting Hamas. They didn't make any differentiation between you all and those who are and the terrorists themselves. They made no differentiation between that. You didn't paying attention. And so they feeling played. They feeling some kind of way. Trump literally won by, I think, 200 and something thousand votes across 3 swing states or something like that.
Yeah.
That means that the Arab community could have handed the presidency to Vice President Harris or any of the 5 or 10 million Democrats that sat this one out. So I'm not putting it on the Arab community as the reason why Trump got elected, but I'm saying you helped him get there. Some of y'all flat out voted for him. Some of y'all voted for Jill Stein, who has not and will never, ever be president of these United States, but pops up and runs every 4 years and collects all y'all money. And that's a real good hustle if you can get it. And she doing every year, she does that, gives you that third option. Hey, do what you got to do. Vote your values, vote your conscience. I ain't mad at you, but don't cry about it right now because you're going to get what you deserve. And unfortunately, all I got to say is, I hope you get the day that you deserve. I hope you get what you voted for. I hope you get what you thought you voted for. But what you're going to get is whatever the fuck Trump want to give you, which is what he said he was going to do for the last however many years that you weren't listening to for whatever reason. And I'm not going to lose not 1 second of sleep over Gaza or any fucking thing else over there. And y'all have to excuse me, but y'all voted for him. And a vote for a person to be the president of the United States is a vote for their policies and their positions and their perspectives around the thing. So whatever he thinks about Gaza, whatever he thinks about Israel, whatever he plans to do concerning Gaza, whatever he will do concerning Israel, which should be crystal clear to anybody watching now, that's what you voted for. That's what you get. That's what you deserve. And I ain't losing no sleep over it. So good for you. And that's all I got to say about that.
Well, I mean, Trump even was on the phone with Netanyahu in the weeks leading up to the election saying, do not do a ceasefire. And they brokered a deal. And that was in the news. And I guess people just didn't see it. Yeah, I don't know.
They didn't want to see it. And they also didn't want to see a woman being at the highest office in this country. Don't discount. I'm not necessarily going to say it's racial. I'm sure that had a part to do with it, like it has to do with everything in this whole country, from the top to the bottom and then side to side, left to right, up and down. But more than it being race, I'm sure it was more misogyny than anything else. Because you got to think about that culture. They are not about women leading a goddamn thing. And they show it going to be about a black woman leading it. And they can say what they want to say. They could say it was about Gaza. They could say it was about Israel. They could say it was about the Palestinians. But there ain't a goddamn thing Trump said or did or implied that would have made them think or believe, by faith or otherwise, that he was going to be helpful toward their cause. So they could kiss my black ass, and you can get what you deserve. And that's all. And I'm serious about that. What you got to say, Brother Herb? Herb is afraid to speak.
You're calling on me to follow that?
Yeah, you gonna be all right. Dylan got to do it
Welcome
every
to the show, Herb. This is my week every week, man.
No, I feel what you're saying, December. I think you're right. And
let me help you real quick. I do have sympathy for the innocent, for the children.
That's what I'm concerned with.
Let me help you.
One of the hardest things in the world is to watch people learn something you already know.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people who already knew this, and they didn't ask for this. And my heart right now, and I think it's a both and. I think there's room for both passions. It is harm mitigation for the people that didn't ask for this, that are going to be harmed nonetheless. That's.
I feel you on that.
Yeah,
I was. Let me add some clarity to the rant I just went on.
No, it's
my heart.
You don't need to.
Okay, there's children dying, there's mothers dying, there's grandmothers and grandfathers dying over there. The Arab community here in the United States did those people an injustice. The Arab community here in the United States failed Gaza and failed the Palestinians there. There will never be a two-state solution under Donald Trump, under Mike Huckabee, who says the West Bank does not exist.
Yeah.
Palestinians don't exist. And that's who you voted for. They failed the Palestinians. They failed Gaza. They failed the two-state solution. They failed peace. They failed justice for their people. They failed them.
Here.
Yeah. And U.S. foreign policy and Joe Biden, who continues to violate the Leahy Act, is failing them too. And Trump is just going to make it worse. And that's where I think Herb might be going with the harm mitigation thing, is that Trump was going to make all of this exponentially worse. And for reasons that I can't fathom, people didn't get that. And I don't know why.
I don't know. So 11 o'clock at night, Eddie Glaude Jr. was on. Do you guys know Eddie Glaude? Do you know who I'm talking about?
I've heard this name.
Princeton University professor. Shows up on MSNBC once in a while.
Handsome black man that wears the glasses with a nice fade.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, and I love my husband. I was just saying that. Go ahead.
Dude, I love my wife, but Eddie Glaude is good looking. But he said something the night after the election that said we cannot underestimate, and nobody wanted to hear it. They all wanted to say inflation. They all wanted to say eggs and gas, and that was economics, and we cannot undervalue how misogyny and racism played into this. I get how we're trying to logically say you chose Trump when you had these concerns because but he's going to make them even worse. And that's all true, but it's almost irrelevant, because the reason they voted for him was not because they thought he was better or worse on some issue. It was because of their own internalized bigotry and patriarchy, and they could not stomach voting for a black woman.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. It's not that they reasoned it out and said Trump's going to be better on this issue than Biden.
Most of them can't even voice the issues. If you ask them one Trump policy,
they looked at who. All they did was look at who was running, and when they got into that voting booth, they could not pull the trigger on a black woman. They couldn't vote for her.
Yeah, Dr. Will Gaffney, who is a Hebrew Bible professor, said misogynoir won, and that is absolutely true. A lot of people didn't go vote, and a lot of people refused to vote for a black woman. And again, when you add it all up, some people did that because of their deeply held misogyny, racism, and patriarchal nonsense. And some people looked at the issues and went, well, at least Trump's going to make X better.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get all of that put together, and then you get the shit show that we're about to, we have sown, we are about to reap.
Dylan, I have to speak from my own lived experience, and I live in Appalachia.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the folks around here voted for Trump. I'm in West Virginia. Most of the folks around here voted for Trump, and they didn't do it. But boy, I got to be very careful here. They didn't do it because they had reasoned things out. It wasn't an intellectual decision on them. They didn't even.
It was automatic, a reflex.
They can't verbalize the issues even.
Yeah.
All they did was look at faces.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there is.
And people will tell you that's not true. They'll tell you that's not true. But if
you can say it's not true all day long, but I live here.
There you go.
I mean, that happened here in Lancaster County, too. I mean, absolutely, 100%.
And they'll say that that's not true. But if you get into a conversation with them about policy, they cannot tell you.
Oh, they can't have an intellectual conversation on policy.
Yeah.
Neither can Trump.
That's true.
He had a policy summit that turned into, I don't know what the hell. Childcare is childcare or whatever the hell.
Yeah, we got to get those numbers down. Okay.
The man asked him, what are we going to do about getting the cost of living down because of children? And this was Republican. He's like, drill, baby, drill. He's talking about, motherfucker, how is that going to help the rent go down? That's not going to help the rent go down. That's not going to put a better position people to be able to buy a home and be able to afford groceries. That's not going to help. He had no policy, no real policy positions. Even on healthcare, you got a lot of these fools talking about they're worried about, they're so glad that he's going to get rid of Obamacare as long as they don't touch the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah. What is that? That's exactly what I'm saying, December. That mentality is exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't an intellectual decision. It was an internalized bigotry decision.
Yeah.
You literally voted to have your own healthcare canceled just because you
Yeah.
thought it was Obamacare.
Exactly.
No, that's what the Republicans called it, to demonize it. And it's helping you live and survive. And now they have the votes to kill it if they wanted to. There is no John McCain, rest in peace. Okay? They have the votes to kill it if that's what they want to do.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The guardrails are gone. That's what scared me this morning, is people that know can see there's no more safety nets. We're going to see the fabric of, what people are made of.
Yeah. Yep. Because we all have to find out now.
Yeah.
They fucked around, and now everybody gets to find out.
And now we all have to find out, and we're all going to pay the penalty.
Yeah.
It's true. It is. It's happening.
And you're going to see a lot of people. I was shocked at how many people in my life voted for Trump the first time. Like, I've grown up with you. I know you, adults in my life that I used to look up to. It was shocked. What we're going to be shocked by this next time is how many champions cave, and we see how many people's fabric is really more threadbare than what we assumed, because there are no more protections.
Yeah, that's right.
We're all about to find out. But right now, we're about to find out who is the fundamentalist fuckwit of the week. But then
that's right.
Who you want to tell us about this on that religious, self-righteous bullshit? Because that's what we want to know. Who's on it?
Well, first, I want to remind everybody that, just real quick, the definition of fundamentalist fuckwittery. So if we have any new listeners or a new guest host tonight. So this is a theological term coined by myself, Dylan Neighbor Cruz, which refers to the spiritually and intellectually bankrupt beliefs espoused by fundamentalist Christians, starting with the belief that the Bible is inerrant. And it's often used to weaponize and harm people. So the fundamentalist fuckwittery is normally brought to you by some preacher or, social media influencer or something like that. And this week, it is brought to you by Bill from Threads. Because Bill from Threads, in a play in 3 acts, is going to exemplify what I mean by fundamentalist fuckwittery. So, Matt, if you could bring up my handy-dandy slideshow. So, I got a lot of shit on threads for saying that the Bible in Genesis claims that the earth is flat. And a lot of people called me a dumbass and were like, you idiot, it's not flat. And I'm like, dude, I didn't say it was. I said that Genesis says it was. So I put up this public service announcement for the people who cannot see it, who will be reading or listening at home tomorrow. If I say that it does not mean that it's flat, it means that the pre-scientific writers of the text thought it was. P.S. I generally make that point as a refutation of biblical literalism and inerrancy. Next slide, please. Okay, so please do not go to my threads page and harass this user. Please do not harass him. I'm going to try to have some grace for him, but he did not have for me, and you will see that he got very nasty with me simply for providing evidence. So in the lower corner here, he says, and he says it with his whole chest, because, you know, the arrogance and ignorance of fundamentalists is somewhat astonishing. And I used to be one of those arrogant, ignorant fundamentalists, so I know what I'm talking about. I suppose we should start with nowhere in the Bible does it say the earth is flat. Nowhere. So I then provide him with evidence. And the evidence that I provided was a screenshot of Genesis 1:6-8. Let there be a dome in the midst of the waters and let it separate the waters from the waters. So God made the dome and separated the waters that were under the dome and the waters that were above the dome. And it was so. God called the dome sky, etc. And in the commentary in my Bible, it says the dome sky, the second day separates an upper ocean from a lower one. This creates a space in which subsequent creation can take place. And then I provided commentary from the New Cambridge Bible Commentary by Dr. Bill T. Arnold, who at the time of writing was the director of Hebrew Studies at an Old Testament professor at Asbury Theological Seminary. And the comment that Dr. Arnold put in the book said, this ancient cosmology, which the Israelites shared with their neighbors, included a flat disc-shaped earth with mountains at its ends supporting a multi-layered sky or domed firmament. The sun, moon, and stars crossed this dome in regular and predictable patterns. Moreover, the dome had chambers through which the water above came down as rain, and there was also water under the earth and the water around the whole, making up the cosmic seas. So, he responds with a website, ancienthebrew.org, and says, you don't know what you're talking about. And this is a classic appeal to authority fallacy. So I went to the website, and it was run by a guy named, what's his name? Jim Benner. And Jim has absolutely zero biblical studies or theological education. If you go to his LinkedIn page, he has 2 years of biological studies at Cal State Polytechnic San Luis Obispo and fire suppression firefighting school. So that's like going to a history professor and quoting Wikipedia. You do not do this. It is an illegitimate appeal to authority. Now, when I appeal to an authority that has all the credentials in the world, that is what's called a legitimate appeal to authority in logic and rhetoric. So he says that it's a ridiculous interpretation and far-fetched. And then when I tell him where it comes from, he tells me that I should say a prayer to God so that I would end this foolishness. To which I reply, I used to be a fundamentalist. Nice try, Bill. Next slide. So then he gets nasty and starts talking about he doesn't give a damn how I grew up. But here's the kicker that he says. I need to pull up mine. Every valid analysis of the original Hebrew in Genesis rebuts the ridiculous flat dome argument. Well, that's not true. I provided him with legitimate scholarly resources from the New Oxford Annotated Bible, 4th edition NRSV, and a biblical commentary written by an evangelical biblical studies Hebrew Bible professor. So then Bill gets nasty and starts saying things like, what's adorable here is your attempt to sound authoritative. My dude. I have a master's in religion. That's a credential that you don't have. And then he gets nasty and says, didn't your daddy love you enough? Mommy spent too much time at Bible studies. My guy, I'm going to afford you some grace. You don't know that you just poked my complex PTSD bear there. Because my childhood was fucking terrible. And no, my father was not around. And no, my mother didn't spend too much time at Bible study. She spent too much time doing a lot of other shit that she shouldn't have been doing. But I didn't call him out on any of that. I just asked him, did he have any theological or biblical studies education? To which he never replied. And I asked 3 times. So this is exactly what I mean by fundamentalist fuckwittery. It is almost a dead certainty that if you have no academic training in a specific discipline, that you do not know more than those who do. As I have said on this show before, do not mistake your devotional Bible reading for my master's degree. And I know the limits of my knowledge. I do not speak or read biblical Hebrew, but I have been given the tools through my education as a historian and as a theologian and biblical studies person to know where to get the requisite information. And Bill from Threads does not. And I gave like 6 different citations. But authority and evidence is an anathema to these people. And I have compassion for Bill because what he's experiencing is called cognitive dissonance. When you get information that completely undermines your worldview, it kind of tends to shake people up, which is why he got so defensive and started getting nasty about my upbringing. So for one final piece of information, I would like Matt to play this video. And I learned all this stuff a long time ago, but Dan McClellan put out a video about it not too long ago, which I have since started to include when people get freaked out about this. Because Dan McClellan is a Hebrew Bible scholar and he can read the ancient Hebrew, just like my Hebrew Bible professor, Dr. Julia O'Brien, could. And she said, by the way, if you're reading Genesis literally, you're missing the entire point. Because it's an origin myth. It's not meant to be taken literally. But here's Dr. McClellan breaking down rakia for us.
Genesis 1:6 absolutely represents the firmament as a solid dome of some kind that suspends the chaotic waters above, separating them from the waters beneath, so they can be gathered together, so the dry land can be revealed, so that life can be made to flourish between the waters above and the waters beneath. And for the best discussion of why this is, I would recommend the Theological Dictionary of the Old Testament. And volume 13 has an entry on rakia. And here the first section, the root and lexical field, discusses how fundamentally, whether verbs or nouns, this root refers to things that are or are made thin. And so basically the idea is things that are spread thin, things that are beaten thin, things that are hammered thin. And if we go down a few pages, we get to the discussion of the priestly source, and Genesis 1 is a part of the priestly source. And we read in the red box, in P, including as possible prototext, therefore, rakia denotes a stable, solid entity situated above the earth, which protects the living world from an influx of the waters of chaos. The noun bears the connotation compact, firm, so that translations such as expanse miss the mark. This firmament was absolutely considered.
So the website that he pointed to said expanse. And that was another place where he, as Dr. McClellan said, missed the mark. Folks, we don't know everything. But if you study history the way I did, and you study religion, theology, and biblical studies, you are given a big toolbox. And we may never know certain things, but some things we absolutely do. And the only people who disagree with all of the scholars that I presented, and then Dr. McClellan presented another group of scholars, the only people that don't agree with that are the people for whom that information undermines their belief system. That the Bible is inerrant, that there are no errors, that it's completely reliable in all ways. And that's just simply not true. But that doesn't mean that the Bible's worthless. It just means that to take the Bible seriously, we have to let the authors of the text speak. And it's not univocal. There are many, many, many voices. Dr. McClellan brought up the P tradition. I doubt that Bill from Threads even knows what that means. It's part of the documentary hypothesis. In the Pentateuch, there are 4 distinct voices. You can find them. You can read them. The priestly source, the Elohist source, the Yahweh source, and the Deuteronomistic source. It's the documentary hypothesis. Look it up. It's pretty fascinating. So, for all of those reasons, the intellectual dishonesty, the disparaging comments towards me and my upbringing, and for just rejecting evidence out of hand, Bill from Threads, you are this week's representative of the fundamentalist fuckwittery for the week. And my dude, hey man, I forgive you for being a dickhead, but maybe you'll learn something. That's what I got this week.
Interesting. I had actually not done any kind of deep dive into that portion of Genesis, or I never assumed or thought that it was implying that the world was flat. Maybe because I'm reading it from the interpretation of my own understanding, like most people do. But I never assumed or thought that was what it was referring to. It makes sense to me in the time that these were written that they might assume that based on the era that this was written, but I never assumed that that's what they were referring to. What's not surprising and always entertaining, yet so sad, is that in these religious, we'll call it a debate, but it started off as a discussion and devolved into a debate, is when someone cannot come forth with just facts and truth. Yes, the Herb nodded. It always goes down the road of
personal
insult.
attacks.
The personal, thank you. I was looking for the word. It always devolves into personal, and you can always tell when someone is losing an argument, and they could even be right. It doesn't mean that they're right or wrong, okay? But you can always tell when someone is losing in their own mind an argument because they take a pivot from the topic to the person. And that's what happened here. And what's so funny is how often this happens with Christians or so-called Christians, that it turns into a personal attack once I think, let me know your thoughts on this, either one or both of you. I think it turns personal because they take your version of truth or your perspective about a thing as a personal attack on them as a person. And their response to that, instead of replying with whatever fact, whatever data that they have, is to attack you personally. You know what I'm saying? Because they cannot separate what they believe from their person. And many people, many faiths, but especially Christians, seem to be unable to separate their beliefs from their body, if that makes sense. And that might be a whole nother conversation, but do you understand what I mean by that?
Oh yeah, somebody else in that same thread said that I was being malicious. It's not malicious to present data. You might be uncomfortable with the data that's presented, and I get that because I used to be a fundamentalist. So I get it. And it's disorienting and it's disconcerting, but personal attacks are not called for. And then presenting something as if it's authoritative, and then you go find out that the guy's a hobbyist Now, he might be a brilliant hobbyist, but he's not Dr. Julia M. O'Brien. He's not Dr. Bill T. Arnold. He does not have that kind of credibility. And that would not stand up in an academic setting if you quoted that unless you said, here's something I found that's nonsense.
Well, and this is the thing, too. You don't have to be academically. I'm sorry, Herb. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You don't have to be academically credible to speak a truth or to have a position that is valid. So I just want to put that out there. That
right, but he was engaging in a fallacious argument. Mm-hmm. And a fallacious appeal to authority. That's what I'm calling out.
Mm-hmm.
Christianity has a long history of conditioning people to believe that their eternal security is dependent on them being right theologically.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're dealing with much deeper issues than just evidence-based discussions. But Dylan, I too want to say that, man, I learned something new tonight too, just watching that. Blew my mind because I always thought IKEA was where you shopped if you wanted to put together your own furniture. I got a whole new definition for it now.
Yeah. Well, that's my segment. I think we got somebody else coming up with another segment. What do we got here, December Rose?
Well, it's time. It's about that time for a little segment that I like to call This Motherfucker. So I got two. I got two of them today. I got two. And Herb did a little bit. He teeter-tottered around.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, I'm glad. I'm glad because I'm glad that there's some consensus around these two motherfuckers. So I'm glad. You right. You in the vein, like we like to say where I come. You in the vein, brother. You in the vein. And so throw that up there. This week, these two right here, Joe and Mika. First of all, I don't know about anyone else. Let me say this real quick first. I was waking up every day leading up to this election, probably almost since the last election. First thing in the morning, watching the news, checking Huffington Post, checking into the news throughout the day at my work day. Basically addicted, literally, to seeing what's going on now. What has this clown said? By this clown, I'm talking about Trump. What has he said now? What did he do? What news? And every morning, waking up, turning on Morning Joe, as I get up, get my kids ready for school, do whatever it is that I'm doing in the morning, light my incense, clean, or whatever I'm doing in the morning with this in the background. And I don't know about anybody else, but I was instantly cured of my news addiction on November the 7th. I was like, I don't want to hear what none of these motherfuckers got to say. Maybe with the exception of Rachel Maddow. That's my girl. She always gonna be my girl. But these motherfuckers right here, the problem that I have with them and anyone else like them is you have spent literally 4 years and more demonizing someone who's been acting like a demon, rightfully so, telling the truth about someone who's been doing wickedness, exposing the fascist, racist, misogynist, and all the other isms and schisms and is that go on with this guy for the last 4 years. And then instead of standing 10 toes down on the truth of this motherfucker, this clown, for whatever reason, and I don't give a good goddamn what the reason is, for whatever reason, after talking about, you could hear, you will, if you go back and look at, if you watch their show and you've been watching it for any length of time, you will have heard them say things like, so-and-so went down there to kiss the ring of Mar-a-Lago. Somebody went down there, and now somebody has went down there. First they were saying this, and now they've gone down there to kiss the ring of Mar-a-Lago. These motherfuckers right here went down to kiss the ring of Mar-a-Lago. What makes them different than anyone else who had something negative, truthful to say about Donald Trump, but went down to Mar-a-Lago. For some reason, these motherfuckers think they're special. And they think that their visit to Mar-a-Lago is different than anybody else's visit to Mar-a-Lago. They think that their visit to Mar-a-Lago is different than the former speaker or than Lindsey Graham or than Marco Rubio or anyone. You ain't no motherfucking different than any other motherfucker that went down to Mar-a-Lago. Now, I want to play a video that I think covers it pretty well. And this video is by Brittany Page. And if you want to follow her, she's on Instagram at Brittany E. Page. And she's also on YouTube, Brittany at Brittany E. Page on YouTube. I go back and watch this whole video. But in this little segment we're going to play, I believe she does well explaining where I'm at and where some of you might be with these motherfuckers right here, Joe and Mika.
Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump. It was the first time we have seen him in 7 years.
Now, we talked about a lot of issues, including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents, and media outlets. We talked about that a good bit. And it's going to come as no surprise to anybody who watches this show, has watched it over the past year or over the past decade, that we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues, and we told him so.
What we did agree on was to restart communications. My father often spoke with world leaders with whom he and the United States profoundly disagreed. That's a task shared by reporters and commentators alike. We had not spoken to President Trump since March of 2020, other than a personal call Joe made to Trump on the morning after the attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania. In this meeting, President Trump was cheerful. He was upbeat. He seemed interested in finding common ground with Democrats on some of the most divisive issues. And for those asking why we would go speak to the president-elect during such fraught times, especially between us, I guess I would ask back, why wouldn't we?
So Trump was cheerful, upbeat, and seemed interested in finding common ground with Democrats on some of the most divisive issues. When has that ever happened? When have we ever seen Donald Trump exhibit those characteristics? And what are those issues, by the way? This never comes up. This is an almost 30-minute panel with 5 people, and it never comes up. What are the issues that you talked to Donald Trump about at Mar-a-Lago that he is willing to come together with the Democrats? What are those issues, those divisive issues? You know what I don't appreciate about this entire segment is how they're centering themselves. They're making it about themselves, their own personal conflict with Donald Trump, how long it's been since they communicated with Donald Trump, how fractured their relationship is with Donald Trump. I don't really care about your relationship with Donald Trump. And you shouldn't either, because that's not your job. It begs the question why they even felt the need to have a segment called How Morning Joe Plans to Cover a Second Trump Term. Why would it be any different from the first term? Why would it be any different than when Donald Trump first came on the scene? It should be the same, right? Why is anything changing if you've been doing what you need to do? I don't understand.
I think she put it well, because here's the thing. What policies does he want to find common ground on? What did you discuss that shows that he has any willingness to work with, collaborate with, meet in a common place concerning with the Democrats on anything? There's nothing that he indicated while he was running that he was willing to partner with, cross the aisle with, collaborate with, cooperate with the Democrats on. Nothing. Not one thing. And they wanted us to believe that they went down there and talked to Donald Trump and he had an epiphany. He got saved right quick. He was happy and did you hear, has anybody else been paying attention to how they talked about anyone else that turned and went down there that had talked negatively about Trump and then turned and went down there? I've been watching. I mean, I've been watching. I've been like a crackhead watching the news. I've been up looking at Joe and Mika before I talked to Jesus. Okay, and I've been watching, what you've been saying, and I've been watching you tell us that this is the most dangerous man in the United States, and I've been watching you tell us that this is a fascist that wants to bring in a fascist regime, and I've been watching you tell us what he's going to do concerning the poor, concerning the minority communities, concerning the women and rolling our rights back, concerning the LGBTQ plus community. I've been watching, I've been listening, I've been paying attention. What makes you different than anybody else that went down to Mar-a-Lago after speaking the truth about that clown? And somehow they think that they're above it and that they did something righteous. And that is okay. One of their comments was yesterday. Now get the arrogance of this. Yesterday, we saw for the first time what massive disconnect there was between social media and the real world. That's what Joe. Yeah, thank you. That's what Joe Scarborough said. But let me tell you something about the social media and the real world, Brother Joe. On Wednesday, MSNBC's Morning Mainstay lured, and this is according to Variety and several other news outlets, lured an average of 647,000 viewers overall and just 51,000 viewers between 25 and 54, the demographic most coveted by advertisers in news programming. On Monday, this is prior to this show, the 4-hour program reached 770,000 overall and 86,000 viewers in that demo, meaning Wednesday's overall audience fell by 15%, and its viewership among people between 25 and 54 tumbled, get this, 41%.
Nice.
Tell me again, what's in the real world? The real world is about to help you fuck around and find out that ain't nobody got time for that lily livered chicken belly double straddle the fence bullshit that you're on, that you condemned for the last 4 years. But now you're doing the same shit. No, I'm officially done watching Morning Joe. And this is someone who used to wake up every day faithfully. And I'm talking about faithfully. 5 days a week. And even on the weekends, watching more, because I got the weekend edition of Morning Joe. Wake up, watching Morning Joe, sitting there to be informed, inspired, pissed off, that Joe can't seem to stop interrupting people, especially Mika. Every day I'm sitting in front of that TV before it's time for me to get to work, looking like I need to get up and brush my teeth and wash my face, yelling at Joe to shut the fuck up and let other people talk. And every day I'm up watching y'all motherfuckers, and I'm done. I don't even turn my TV on no more in the morning to that. I turn on my Afro beats or my prayers or Dr. Miles Monroe or whoever, some preaching. I've been instantly cured of them. Instantly. Because fuck y'all. The horse you rode in on and everything you stand for. The hypocrisy is unreal. And it pisses me off to no end that we've been watching you tell the truth about Trump for the last 4 years. And what Brother Herb said, and if you think I'm about to sit in front of that screen and watch you be part of the softening of that truth, you got another goddamn thing coming. Me and the other 41% that done fell off, and the rest that's gonna keep the fall off. Real work. Now, that's all I got to say about that. Them two motherfuckers. What y'all got to say, Dylan and Herb?
So again,
Go ahead, Herb.
Again, we're going to see the moral fiber of people that preached a big resistance game, that it's pretty threadbare. They're wanting to play ball rather than be part of the resistance. December, I came to this. You were watching it happen in real time. I came to it a little backwards because I hadn't watched it for a couple days and was kind of out of the news cycle for about 48 hours. And I flipped on Morning Joe this morning and heard them tripping over themselves to come up with good things that Donald Trump did the first time.
Oh my God.
Now, I had not known any of this had happened in the last 48 hours. And so I'm listening to this morning and hearing this just stark contrast in their tone and in their rhetoric about Trump. And I'm like, what changed? What has happened? Who got bought out? And I had to go on and Google and figure out what happened to Joe and Mika over the weekend. Why are we praising Trump for the vaccines and for saving lives during COVID that would not have been saved if it weren't for Trump? That's the kind of stuff that were being said this morning by Joe and Mika, and there are other people around the table. And I was like, what just happened? And the contrast before, even between last week and this morning, was so stark to me that I had to go find out what is happening. Am I even watching the right channel?
Yeah. Wow. Well, she asked, why wouldn't we? Because you don't sit down with fascists. That's why. He is a fascist.
Negotiate with terrorists.
I mean, this is simple. You sit there and go, we got invited to Mar-a-Lago, but we didn't go because the man's a fascist. We didn't go because we read Project 2025 and we know what he's going to try to do. We didn't go because we refused to kiss his ring and inflate his narcissistic fucking ego. That's how you do it. I mean,
you don't find common ground with the money changers. You flip their table.
Exactly. Thank you.
You better preach.
I'll preach all day and on Sunday twice.
And Timothy Snyder, he said, do not obey in advance.
That's right.
This man haven't even entered office yet. He ain't even sworn in yet. Okay? This is an excerpt from that book. It said, most of the power of authoritarianism is freely given. In times like these, individuals think ahead about what a more repressive government will want and then offer themselves without being asked. A citizen who adapts in this way is teaching power what it can do. And for the life of me, I do not understand why these two motherfuckers want to help teach Trump as if our justice system didn't teach him enough. All that he's gotten away with. Who else could have gotten away with what he's gotten away with? These cases being put on hold or dismissed simply because a Supreme Court that he put in place says, oh, he can do that. Never before has it been necessary, but we'll give him immunity on that. We'll give him a pass on that. He can get a hall pass for that. If it's in his regular duty, if it's anything related to his regular duty. I don't know how writing a check to a porn star to keep her quiet is related to your regular duties. But I guess if you write the check from the Oval Office, it's all right. It's all right. I don't know why they want to become.
It's got to have the official seal.
That's how they do. Is that how they do? I don't understand it. And now they're paying for it on both sides. Because the people who were with them are against them.
Oh, Fox News watchers aren't going to come running.
Yeah, no, they never will.
What did they think they were going to gain from that? And you mentioned earlier, I think you said, I'm wondering what's going on behind the scenes that would make them feel that was necessary.
Yeah,
that's what scares me, honestly. That's where I start to feel anxiety. You know what I mean? What made them cave? What made them change their story, their tune? That's what I want to know. What were they threatened with?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I run a nonprofit that's pretty vocal about present injustices happening in the system. And when we're talking about enacting laws that can cause nonprofits to lose their 501c3 status because they disagree with Trump's administration, what is it that they threatened Joe and Mika with?
I don't know.
That's
but
what worries me.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not just for them. That's what worries me. It's coming for all of us.
Yeah.
And we were shocked by who voted for him the first time. We're going to be shocked by who caves this second time.
Y'all mark his words, because I believe that's true. But listen, after dealing with the fundamentalists fuckwit and these motherfuckers, Joe and Mika, and I'm Joe and Mika is them family members that have been cut off. They've been cut off. You can't come to Thanksgiving. You can't come to. Don't call my phone no more. You ain't finna pop up on my TV. I ain't got time to be listening to Joe interrupt Mika. Fuck all y'all. And I hate it for the folks that on that show that I do like, because they actually had a good thing going. But, you know, I believe it's probably downhill from here for them. I don't know where they think they're going to go. It ain't like Fox News is going to give them space. So I don't know what they was thinking with that. But we are in the real world, Joe and Mika, and the real world is telling you to go jump off a cliff with that bullshit. We're not buying it. We're not buying it. But hopefully there's some good news in the world. You got some good news, Brother Dylan? You got some good news, Reverend Herb? Do we got some good news for the people? The people need some good news.
Oh, good Lord. I didn't even think about good news this week. It's been a week.
So
I wish. Yeah, go
What's
ahead,
the
Herb.
good
If you got
news?
some good news, lay it on us, brother.
Heather Cox Richardson, the
Yes.
week after the election, pointed something out to me, and it was the only hope I could find, is that we were caught unawares the first time.
Yeah. Mm.
But our communities that formed the first time are still present. We're not creating those communities this time. They're already here. We're ready. We're already on the ground. The ACLU has already filed the lawsuits preemptively. The communities of resistance that were created in real time last time he was in office are present and in existence from the and existing from the beginning this time. And I can't. What it reminded me of was another Hebrew prophet from Galilee who was living under Roman political oppression, who said the solution to creating a world shaped by compassion and love and justice and making sure everyone is safe, the solution is community. The solution is renewing your commitment, not just to resistance, but to being there and taking care of one another, making sure one another has what they need to survive and thrive. And so that's my good news that I'm holding on to right now, is that no matter how bad things look or how chaotic, we're getting a taste of the chaos that's going to come. These communities are there, and this is the time for us to press together. This is the time for us to lean more deeply into those communities of resistance, to encourage one another, build each other up. I honestly am still trying to find the energy and motivation to go through another 4 years of this, especially if it's going to be worse. But what keeps me holding on is knowing I'm not alone, that there are those around, that there are others out there that we are in community with. And no matter what the future holds, we're not on our own. We've got each other's back. And I hope there's enough out there that don't start taking trips to Mar-a-Lago, that their moral fiber is not as threadbare. But I believe there are.
Well,
we're going to be shocked on two fronts. We'll be shocked by those who cave. We'll also be impressed by those who choose not to. Who and I don't believe in sacrificial love. That's a whole nother topic. I don't believe in self-sacrifice. But there are going to be people that we're going to be in awe of what people are willing to sacrifice, the courage that they muster to stand on the side of what is right and what is good, and on the side of people that are being harmed.
I love that. That's very good.
I'm glad that you had that, Herb, because that was a message that I personally needed to hear, because for lots of reasons. And I'm sure that a lot of other people need to hear that too. So thank you. Thank you.
That's what's holding me on right now.
Yes, thank you for that. That is some good news. And I just got two things, and we're going to wrap this up. Congressmember McBride responded to Nancy Mace's, all this hullabaloo they're making, and Speaker Johnson. And I believe the response was more Christian than what the Christians are doing. I believe the response was more godly
Yeah.
than what these people who claim to believe in God and claim to be speaking for God or whatever the hell they think they're doing. I believe this response was more godly than that. And this is what they said. I'm not here to fight about bathrooms. I'm here to fight for Delawareans and to bring down costs facing families. Like all members, I will follow the rules as outlined by Speaker Johnson, even if I disagree with them. This effort to distract from the real issues facing this country hasn't distracted me over the last several days. Her statement continued, serving in the 119th Congress will be the honor of a lifetime, and I continue to look forward to getting to know my future colleagues on both sides of the aisle. Each of us were sent here because voters saw in us something that they value. I have loved seeing those qualities in the future colleagues that I've met, and I look forward to seeing those qualities in every member come January. I hope all of my colleagues will seek to do the same with me.
That sounds like
Yeah.
they're there on a mission and they're not going to be distracted.
Yeah. And that
In
sounds,
other words,
that
I'm here to
reminds me of,
serve. I don't care what
Yeah.
bathroom y'all want me to use.
yeah.
I'm here to serve.
That part reminds me of Walter Wink's teaching on Jesus's nonviolent resistance, where you turn the other cheek. Why? Because that left hand was used for one thing, and if you slap somebody with that hand that you wipe your butt with, that brings shame on them. You carry that Roman soldiers pack a second mile just to bring, just show them, all right, what you did to impress my service is not going to affect me. I am not going to be angry. I'm just going to carry it a second mile. That response from her was brilliant.
It was. And it was a lesson to me, a lesson in humanity for some of them. Because this person is saying, I'm not going to be distracted by this. Y'all are in a culture where I'm not. Y'all are talking about bathrooms. I'm not. Whatever bathroom you want me to use, that's the bathroom I'll use. I'm here to get some work done. And to me, that just snatched the covers off of them. That just, to me, that disarmed them. Go on with your little bickering back and forth about the bathrooms. You let me, when y'all finish, let me know which bathroom you want me to use, and that's when I'll use another. But in the meantime, let me go on and get this work in for my people. That's what they sent me here to do. And I just appreciate that. That is so awesome. And that's more Christ-like than what the Christians are doing.
And that's not to belittle the bathroom debate that creates victims, right? But what it shows is that you're using this as in an asinine way to distract us.
That's right. That's right. And listen, I know that we have people from all stripes that watch and listen to this show. I know that we have people that are Christians and people that are not Christians, that people that might identify as atheists, agnostics, or anywhere in between, Muslims, Hindus, whoever. I know we got all kind of stripes, colors, shapes, and sizes that watch and listen to this show. But you all do know that we are folks who believe in Christ. And so I'm going to give you some word for a word on the street as we close it out and just give you some encouragement. And even if you don't believe in Christ and you don't believe in the Bible, hopefully there's something in this that will be encouraging to you nevertheless. And that is Romans chapter 5, verse 1-5. And it says, therefore, having been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom also we have access by faith into this grace in which we stand and rejoice in hope of the glory of God. And not only that, but we also glory in tribulation, knowing that tribulation produces perseverance, and perseverance character, and character hope. Now, hope does not disappoint, because the love of God has been poured out in our hearts by the Holy Spirit who was giving to us. And I just want you to know that your hope, whether it was in the election or whatever, your hope has to be in something higher. Okay? If you were hoping in this country or hoping in this government, I suggest you redirect your hope. Make your hope higher. Let your hope level up your hope. If you don't believe in God, that's okay. Make your hope your children, your mission, your purpose, your life's work, whatever it is, plug into your hope and never let your hope be diminished or dismissed by the wickedness and what we might call the principalities in the air. Level up your hope, tap into your hope, tap into your character, In this time, it's going to be more important than ever that we walk in our individual integrity, not looking to the pulpit, not looking to the pew, not looking anywhere in between, and certainly in the hell, not looking to the White House, okay, or the church house, or the courthouse, for that matter, for integrity. In this season, okay, it's more important than ever that we look toward our individual integrity and make sure that we are aligned. Those of you who are Hindu, make sure them chakras is lined up, okay, and that we look toward our individual integrity and stand on the principles and values that guide you, that have shaped you, and that you believe in, and live and move and have your being in this earth as the salt, the life, and the love that you know that you're supposed to be, whether or not you believe in God. I'm one of those people who I believe the highest law in the earth is love, not religion, not even faith maybe, but love. That's the highest law. For me, love is God and love is the gospel. Okay? So that's what I leave with you. Be encouraged, be empowered, be inspired, but most of all, don't be a motherfucking hypocrite like Joe and Mika.
That's right. That's right.
And I want to thank Herb Montgomery, Brother Herb, for sitting with us on the show tonight. Check out his ministry at www.renewedheartministries.com. Thank you, Herb, for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation. It was such a pleasure, and I appreciate you guys.
Thank you for being here, Herb, and that good news, man.
Yes.
Did you just pluck that out the air? Because
it was
fantastic.
Again, it's what I'm holding on to right now, and it's what's holding on to me.
Well, thank you for planting that seed in my heart, because I was not having myself one of those good weeks that people talk about. I was not. So thank you, and check out Heather Cox Richardson. She's all over social media. She's a brilliant historian and social commentator.
Sign up for her free newsletter. You'll get it every morning at 2 a.m. and it's worth waking up for.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, that's our
when you
show.
Get a chance, please post the link in there. Go ahead, Dylan. I'm sorry.
Well, that's our show. Like, subscribe, share. We are more relevant than ever. I wish we were obsolete, to be honest, but we are more relevant than ever. So like, subscribe, and share, and tell your friends. Oh, and just as a public service announcement, I have never dyed my hair in my life, but if my book, Volume 2, sells by January 1st, 200 copies, I will dye my hair bright pink. Bright pink. People, look at this face. Bright pink and this face is probably not going to go super well together. So let's make this happen, because my words in that brand new book are also incredibly relevant. It came out on Election Day, and it speaks to a lot of the issues that we're talking about. So make me dye my hair pink, people. Please and thank you.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Catch us this time next week on Tell Me Everything with John Fugelsang on Sirius XM, and also right here on The God Squad on all your social media outlets, wherever you get your social media at. Right here Thursdays at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until next week.
See y'all later.
Peace and chicken grease.